The debt limit, we have said again and again that we want to do that in a bipartisan way. We think that would be the appropriate way to go. Right now, we do have to, though, get to a place on the...
Now, the first deadline is the end of this month for the next batch of stimulus. 11 states where residents can expect relief payments coming to their bank accounts this year. Checks range from $50 to $1,000, and so make sure to keep on watching this video to know if you're going to receive a stimulus payment. Because here it is. As we continue this year of 2023, states are finalizing their state budget plan. Governors are working on establishing programs. It will provide their residents extra financial relief to the crisis. In 2022, a large number of approved states already got the stimulus. Today, state officials confirmed that the residents who filed their 2021 taxes have a little more than 2 weeks before they receive a tax rebate. Taxpayers who filed their 2021 taxes by October will get a $750 check from the Colorado Cashback Program by January 31st. Eligible couples will get $1,500. The Colorado governor signed a law to return money to taxpayers, and originally intended for the payment to be $400 and $800 for couples, but due to additional state revenue, the amount recipients will receive has been increased. According to the State Department of Revenue, the schedule is December 31st, January 31st of 2025. Now, the first round of payments was for people who had filed their taxes. Second is for the people who didn't. The payment is different from the Colorado Cashback. It's a program from the Department of Treasury to help the state residents locate their unclaimed property. The Colorado Cashback Program is a one-time refund of state revenue. Now, there are many other state refunds and rebate payments that are currently being rolled out this year. California, for instance, has offered payments to its residents. California eligible residents have received their payment already in the form of Golden State stimulus, but the residents who change their bank account or bank info online are going to receive a stimulus debit card in the middle of the month, next month in February. I also want to say that for February, well, the eligible taxpayers could get some stimulus cash, everybody. Yes.
Omnibus, because it takes time to do, and we were discussing this last night and said even if we had an agreement tomorrow, it would still take a while to get it in the form that would bring it to the floor. So that is the priority right now. We wanted to stop the work stoppage, which we did yesterday. Now the Senate will deal with that. We'll take up marriage equality next week, next Tuesday, but what remains to be done is the omnibus. We also have the defense authorization bill, but I hope that we could do the debt ceiling this year, but we are striving to do it in a bipartisan way.
And with inflation on the rise since last fall, Americans have been significantly affected by the rising cost of goods and services, and more than 8 in 10 Americans now say the economy is either an extremely or very important issue in determining how they will vote. Folks, there's a ton of news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits that I want you to know, so be sure to continue watching this video because you definitely don't want to miss out on this. We have a ton of good news to come. Biden and his administration unveiled a brand new plan for how they would take action to help the American people financially. Eligible Americans may be able to claim up to $500 in extra stimulus cash. So President Biden spoke to a crowd of union supporters this week, hoping to put a positive spin on his economic record and made inflation not seen in decades. And Biden sought to reassure the people that tackling the worst inflation in the nation has seen in decades is a top priority for him and the administration. The speech came a day before the Federal Reserve could raise interest rates as much as 3/4 of a percentage point, as it attempts to get inflation under control. The president acknowledged that inflation is sapping the strength of a lot of families as the price of gas and food skyrockets. But even as he sought to emphasize administration, it's fully focused on the problem. The president conceded he is left without many options to fight the price hikes. The president acknowledged inflation is sapping the strength of a lot of families as the price of gas and food skyrockets. But even as he sought to emphasize his administration is fully focused on this, the president conceded he is left without many options to fight the price hikes, particularly in a narrowly divided Senate. Folks, I do want to see President Biden do something for the American people, and I hope he can step up to the plate and give out stimulus checks before it's too late. Biden stated the problem is Republicans in Congress are doing everything they can to stop the plans to bring down costs on ordinary families, and that's why the results are not finished either. And Biden on Tuesday touted his administration's efforts to the nation's recovery from the crisis. He also mentioned some actions are taken, and others he's considering, to fight inflation, but Biden has previously said there is not much more he's able to do that will have a noticeable effect. He's also mentioned some actions taken right now and others he's considering to fight inflation, but Biden has previously said that there is not much more he's able to do that will have a noticeable effect. The White House has been trying for months to demonstrate its commitment to dampening inflation and bringing down soaring prices that are placing stress on American families. So combined with a dropping stock market and intense warnings from high-powered CEOs, the economy has become the White House's top political problem and priority. But the president's spokesperson argues that Americans will be able to weather the economic storm thanks to the actions that Biden took in office. And now the Minnesota's frontline workers are able to pay and apply for their share of $500 million in hero pay. Employees, however, must take certain steps to comply with notification requirements. The Minnesota governor signed the Frontline Worker Pay Law, authorizing state-funded bonus and payments to various frontline workers, including assisted living employees. Employers must post a notice about the program at each work site and provide papers on how to get it, and provide papers on how to receive the check.
Do that job better to make sure that Western drought does not significantly get worse, but we can improve.
First, thank you to this committee for the investment of $8.3 billion. For just investment in storage, it's roughly equivalent in the last 18 months of this administration that the previous administration invested. So we invested $461 million in storage alone. Resources are always of assistance, but really it's having this dialogue.
How quick is it going to be put out? How quick will that money be invested?
Some of those we've already put out. Frankly, there's some projects that we're working on, Los Vaqueros in California being an example of it.
Mr. Ensminger?
I think Congress needs to make massive investments in agricultural efficiencies. I agree with Mr. O'Toole that we need to prioritize food security, but we can't balance the structural deficit by evacuating cities. So we're going to need to make our ability to grow the same amount of food with less water a priority.
Dr. Hall.
I think certainly one of the more urgent issues is providing the information that we need, and that includes continuing robust support for the USGS and NRCS that manage our data systems, approving Senator Cortez Masto's bill to implement OpenET in the USGS. And I think more broadly, the support for giving the Bureau of Reclamation the broad flexibility to work with states on new approaches like groundwater management and groundwater storage. Thank you.
Mr. Stern?
Well, Senator, as you know, we wouldn't at CRS necessarily recommend any one specific approach, but I would say that there is more support among observers for activities that can be done from the ground up and stakeholder-driven things that may vary